Welcome to Two Doctors Homestead. My name's Daniel. We just did the giveaway. Congratulations to BR2080 for winning this giveaway. We're doing another giveaway next Sunday, so you've got a week to make comments on videos. We just dropped a video with information about the giveaway, but essentially any thoughtful comment on any of our videos, not just things we released during the time, will count towards the giveaway. So we're doing a giveaway again next Sunday. We just did our giveaway, got another one coming. So I want to get that out there. But today on this video, I want to talk about bird flu. It's sort of back. Didn't think I was going to have to make another bird flu video anytime soon, but here we are talking about bird flu. There's a lot of talk about it, right? There was a case in Arizona that I think has people somewhat freaked out. It's understandable, but let's talk about what bird flu is. Let's talk about the history of bird flu, what that means, H5N1, some things you can do, some precautions, but I want to temper the fear because as of now, for the last 146 years that we've known about bird flu, it has not been jumping from person to person. It's not to say that can't happen, but this isn't some new novel virus that no one knows anything about that came out of nowhere and it's going to wipe us all out, you would think, right? Bird flu's been around a long time. It's been mutating a long time. It's not to say it couldn't mutate to the point that it could spread from person to person. There may be some evidence of that now. Some of that is good news, so we'll get into that. But I want to talk about first what is bird flu? What is avian influenza? What can you do and what can we do if this gets bad, right? There is the potential for it to get bad. I don't think that's where we're at. I don't believe that's going to happen anytime soon. But let's talk about it. Let's dig in on what is HPAI, highly pathogenic alien influenza, known as bird flu, right? And been second generation prepper, been prepping my whole life. We've been talking about bird flu in the prepper community for the last 20 years. So once again, this isn't something new, and there isn't really indication that it's about to go full blown, right? Full blown pathogen, full blown outbreak pandemic, but let's get into that. So started in 1878. So the most widely quoted date for the beginning of recorded history of avian influenza, initially known as fowl plague, was in 1878, when it is differentiated from other diseases that cause high mortality rates in birds. So I said this isn't anything new. It's been around a long time. Now it is very lethal in birds, right? So in birds, highly pathogenic HP, avian influenza virus can cause disease that affects multiple internal organs with mortality rates up to 90 to 100%, in chickens often within 48 hours. So when chickens get it, you've got a mortality rate in the 90 to 100% range. So it's very lethal in birds. Why is it scary for people? It does mutate. We'll get into it. It has impacted animals, mammals, right? It's zoonotic. It can jump between species. It has jumped between different mammals historically and recently, has been very lethal. So as far as people goes, it's a virus subtype for which we have little to no immunity protection against. So it's just not something our body has any idea what it is, how to fight it. So if it did jump, if it was going to person, it could be very scary, right? It could be one of those end of civilization apocalypse kind of things. And just to put in seriousness, they slaughtered 86 million chickens in 2022 because of bird flu. So they're not messing around. Once again, this isn't some unknown new virus, heavily studied, heavily tracked, right? So how do you catch it? I think that's important. Important to talk about how do you catch it. Human infections with bird flu viruses can happen when virus gets into a person's eyes, nose, or mouth, or it's inhaled. This can happen when a virus is in the air in droplets or possibly dust, and a person breathes it in, or possibly when a person touches something that has a virus on it, touches their mouth, eyes, nose, right? Spread of bird flu viruses from one infected person to a close contact is very rare, and when it has happened, it has not led to continued spread amongst people. So it's hard. It doesn't transfer well between people, right? And I think that's important, but so is the eyes, nose, and mouth, and we'll get into that later on. If you do want to prepare, if you kind of want to lean in that direction. Two basic types. So you have the high pathogenic HP and you've got the low pathogenic LP. HP is more the one we're worried about, highly pathogenic. Most well known is H5N1. first isolated from a farmed goose in Guangdong province in China in 1996, or China, depending on how you want to say it. Low pathogenic strains found in North America. So what does that mean? H5N1, influenza A viruses, which is the avian, are divided into subtypes based on two proteins on the surface of the virus. So they have two proteins. You've got the H, you've got the N, which is hemagglutinin and neuraminidase. There are 18 different hemoglobin types and 11 different neuraminidase types. So it could be H1 through H18, N1 through N11, or any combination, H1, N11, H2, N5, any of those. Not all of those are highly pathogenic. Not all of those are something that would be concerned about. So the pathogenic ones are H3, H5, H6, H7, H9, and H10. And then most of what you hear about is either H5N1 or H7N9, right? So this virus has been around a long time. It's mutated a lot. It's continuing to mutate. Some strains are worse than others. It's just, I think, good to know. CDC has been comparing the properties of contemporary avian influenza, H5N1, viruses to past H5N1 bird flu viruses, and found that contemporary H5N1 detected in 2021, 2022 are different from earlier strains. So even though the H5N1 part's the same, the virus is changing, the virus is mutating. That's what viruses do. It's zoonotic, loves to jump around. And just for some context, so it's goats, cattle in the United States, turkey farms in the United States, HPAI, H5N1 infections found in mammals, detected in sea lions in Peru and Chile, sea elephants in Argentina, foxes in Canada, swans and seals in the UK, wild foxes in Estonia. Occasionally infects mammals that eat birds, right? So they eat the bird, you get the infection. Poultry, including not limited to wild or feral animals such as foxes, seals, stray or domestic animals, cats, dogs, zoo animals, tigers, leopards. So at least 8 United States have detected HPAI. H5 virus is in fox kits, so fox. So it does bounce around to bobcats, raccoons, skunks in Canada. Other animals have tested positive include otters, lynx, polecat, badger, and in Europe they've had raccoon dogs and foxes in Japan. Keep going, December 2022. Virus infections reported in bears in Alaska, Nebraska, Montana. 23 viruses found to have affected a polar bear. So it's in the Arctic. It's all over the world. I'll skip through some of this, just saying it is there. It is bouncing around. It's constantly mutating. It is constantly moving between animals as it mutates. So in that sense, it is very prolific. And maybe I'm being naive, but I feel like it's been around a long time, right? So there's nothing to say somehow tomorrow is the day it's going to go highly pathogenic and jump from person to person. I know there's a lot of people saying that. I feel like it's been around a long time. It is continuing to mutate. So that in that sense, it is real. I'm not saying it's not real. Bottom line, mild illnesses have been seen in dairy and poultry workers that have close contact with infected animals. In 2 cases, an adult in Missouri, child in California. No known source of the illnesses have been identified. No cases of bird flu spreading between people have been detected in the United States. So we are seeing more of it, and we are seeing more of it in people, and I think that's where things start to get concerning. We're not seeing it jumping from person to person. And I want to jump in this next part, wastewater, and feel like this may be more of a good news than bad news. Recent wastewater measurements have detected H5N1 bird flu viruses in several cities in California. Since the first avian influenza outbreak hit the U.S. earlier this year, health and agriculture experts have struggled to track the virus's spotty path as it spreads in dairy cow herds and an unknown number of humans. So there is sort of this idea that people are getting it, and it's flushing out of the body into the wastewater. They're checking the wastewater and saying, hey, there's bird flu in the wastewater. So if that's happening, if it is spreading, right, and it is in people and it is in the wastewater, but we're not getting reports from hospitals, it's possible people are getting it and it's not some life-ending, high mortality pathogen, and they may not even realize it. They might think they have the flu or something else. So Good news, bad news, right? And as I said, I know it's sort of building up, sort of hitting that pitch that people are taking notice, especially if it's in wastewater and things like that. I feel like if it's in wastewater and there's more people have it than we realize, but it's not causing this 90%, 100% mortality rate that we're seeing in animals, it may be more good news than bad news, right? It could be something where it's mutated, it is infecting people, but it hasn't mutated, it's not hitting that same level of lethality. If it did, pick your movie, pick your outbreak movie, carriers, any of those, captain trips from the stand. I mean, if you're talking about a virus that is spreading from person to person, that has that level of mortality, it won't be a question of do I comply, do I not comply, is it real, is it not real, should I wear a mask, I don't want to wear a mask. If you're talking 30, 40, 50, 60, 80% mortality rate, everything's going to stop. It's sort of like what I think people thought COVID might have been in the beginning, the last pandemic. If you have that mortality rate, there's no conversation, right? There's no discussion about what's going on. It's simply reaction. So what do? Quarantine, self-quarantine. Once again, I'm not saying comply. I'm not saying don't comply. I think if it is what it could be, and if it ever happened, which I'm not saying it is happening, said it's going to be pretty obvious, right? What's going on with that kind of a mortality rate. Decontaminate, quarantine yourself, learn how to decontaminate yourself when you go outside, and then real masks. And I got a couple real masks here I was going to show. We're not talking about the paper mask. I mean, if we're talking about something that's 30, 40, 60, 80% lethality rate, you're probably going to want something like this, right? Some kind of full face, eyes, nose mask. You can get these on Amazon. This is not an expensive one. They make expensive masks. This is more the $40 mask versus, say, $300-$400 mask. This one came with the gas mask cartridge, right? But it also takes the 3M cartridges, which is the charcoal filter on the side. Sorry, covers the eyes, nose, and mouth. I'm not saying we're going to get there. I'm not saying we're ever going to get there. I hope we never get there, but something basic, some kind of a basic mask, as opposed to, say, your regular 3M mask. I use this a lot, cleaning out the chicken coop, painting, that kind of thing. It's only a half face, right? So if we're actually talking about something that can get in through the eyes, this wouldn't do it, but this is certainly better than nothing. This is a P100, right? 100% N100 P100. So the N95, that 95 meant it would stop maybe 95% of anything kind of passing through in the most ideal situation. That's the good ones, not the paper mask. This is P100. This is 100%. Basically, it says once it's on, fits right, seals properly, you're going to pick up 100%. So the masks aren't bad. This is what they look like. We might do some links. You can find them on Amazon. So these are the $40 range. When you're talking gas masks, you're talking $300-$400. But if it only runs, these cartridges only have, once they're open, maybe 3-4 hours. I think something like that of usability. That's not long-term very usable. The multi-purpose, the carbon filter cartridges on these, they'll last a lot longer, right? So this isn't going to give that NBC gas protection. This is more of your respirator. This is something you're spray painting, clean out your turkey coop, whatever it is, but should be more than enough, I would think, protection from any kind of a virus if something like that happens. As I said, the nice thing on this mask is it takes either one. You have both options. So not saying you need this, not saying go run out and buy stuff you can't afford. But if we seem to be moving in that direction, I'm not sure we are, and it does become this big issue, these will be pretty popular and maybe hard to find at that point. So something to think about if you don't already have them. Respirator mask, gas mask. So you get the cheap ones for $40. Maybe it's a little bit of insurance policy if you're interested in that kind of thing. So hope that helps out. As always, thank you for watching, and we appreciate you.